advantages that some of their classmates might have had in their early years, giving them a head start, giving them a chance to kind of catch up and hopefully a better shot at doing well in school and not getting off into a life of crime. So all of these are pieces of the puzzle and things that we're working on.
Very good. And of course, Mayor, soon will become more involved in the gubernatorial campaign. And I would imagine that many of our viewers are familiar with some of your activities in that direction. And they'd like to hear some of the things that you have to say in reference to the state of Tennessee. We know that you came in as a political novice and you surprised everybody after you became mayor, and some of the very, very progressive things that you've done since you've become mayor. And some of the things, so why don't take this time to talk about the gubernatorial campaign and some of the things that you see on the horizon for you.
Sure. It's something which I really had not thought seriously about until really this last fall. And I think when I got into the mayor's office, what I found was that a lot of the issues which I cared most deeply about and were the reasons why I got involved in politics in the first place were probably more fundamentally state issues than they were local issues, that the laws that really affected them were made at the state level. I'm a strong believer in jobs. I think that having a good job and having the availability of jobs and steady jobs is one of the foundations of any community, and one of the ways in which families build their version of the American dream. Is what lets you plan for the future and raise your family and go out and take part in the life of the community. I think that creating jobs and attracting jobs is something I have a knack for, and it's something I would like to be able to work on behalf of the entire state rather than just Davidson County. I believe I can do a good job. Crime, we touched on it in juvenile crime, but has become an enormous issue. And I'm a firm believer in truth in sentencing. The situation we have now where someone who commits a violent crime can serve just a tiny fraction of their sentence before they're back out on the street again it's gotten out of hand.
Explain that, Mayor. Perhaps many of our viewers don't understand exactly what is meant by truth in sentencing.
Well, give you an example. If a person were convicted today of aggravated assault, fairly serious crime, they would, and they were found guilty of that, they might be sentenced to 10 years. That would be a typical sentence for that. If they had not committed too many other crimes, they'd be what you call a range 1 offender. So that 10 years is automatically reduced to 30% of that number, or 3 years. We have a safety valve in place because we don't have enough beds, cells for everyone, which reduces it by another 40%. That makes it 1.8 years. You then get out, you get 16 days of time for good behavior every month, and that reduces it down slightly over a year. So what that means is that the person who was sentenced to 10 years, the public was told they were sentenced to 10 years, the jury thinks they were sentenced to 10 years, actually is eligible for parole shortly after 1 year, and about 30% of people get parole on their very first try out there. Now, if a person is sentenced to 10 years for something and serves 8 for good behavior, I don't have any problem with that. I don't think anybody has any problem with that. But 10 years, meaning really 1 and change, is it's not a deterrent anymore. It's clearly a ridiculous situation and one that needs to be changed.
And of course,